fix that. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. I'm still up, so I thought I'd come live because I've been doing a lot of research, going back through all of everything in this case. Just a second. I don't think I set anything up. Hope everybody's doing good this evening. Hey guys. It's nice to see you all. I never come live this late, but I am tonight. Hi. I'll see you guys in just a second. Give me just a second. I'm still working on. So I have been like literally going through everything on here. Man, Mike, you're up awfully late. It's nice to see you. I haven't even started unwinding to go to bed yet. I'm so tired. I started going through my phone, and it kind of sucks because everything's on here, but I've been going through it diligently. Hey, Donna, Maui, it's nice to see you, me and you, Kendra, Jules. Hey, happy Saturday. Good evening. It's 7 p.m., so you're probably, oh, wow, you're further. It's late for me. It's like almost 11 here. Hello. Yeah, I'll get some rest. I was going through everything. I kind of went to like the oh, guys, you guys remember? I remember how I've been talking about how dry my lips have been and how my lips are constantly peeling. And it's like everything I use, it just doesn't seem to work. And so I was on the phone with Olivia. I'm picking at my freaking lips, and she's like, "What is going on with you?" And I'm like, "The lips have been dry ever since Gabby." I said, "You know more than anybody." I said, "My lips just peel." She goes, "Yeah." She goes, "I forgot about that." And she goes, "Take some hydrochloric acid and put on your lips before you go to bed." And she goes, "And take something to seal it with." She said, "I use Vaseline." I said, "Okay, well, I don't have Vaseline, but you know what? I still got my Blistex, right? You guys know how I love this stuff." So I put some hydrochloric acid on my lips and put this on my lips. And then literally overnight, I felt the difference. They're not perfect or anything, any stretch of the imagination, but they have not been peeling like at all today. Oh, crime stories. There's sun damage, not sunburned, sun damage. Because of all the time, you know, all the stuff in my, oh, good gracious. There we go. All the protests and everything else that I do out there, it's just been a lot of damage on my lips, lots and lots and lots of damage on my lips. Give me just a second. Let me go ahead and change that so we can. I want a peaceful evening. I don't want anybody's BS. I don't have time for your bullshits. So, always remember, here in the chat, a Bullhorn Betty, it is a privilege, not a right to be here. And I control who comes in and who stays in this chat. And it's me and me alone that has the opportunity to do that. So, act right or bye-bye. Don't be a dick in the chat. Those are the only rules. If you can't follow the rules, get the heck out. We are doing adulting today. If you can't adult, this is not the place you need to be. So, I forgot about a lot of stuff. So I'm rolling through this. And so I started making notes. I got a whole new pad out. As you can see, I started a whole new page. This is what I do. When I start from the case, I get a pad. I start going through the whole damn thing again, right? We start from the beginning and work our way down. So the first place I start with anything is my personal photo roll, because my photo roll has in order how things were transpiring, right? I was doing a lot of lives, so I knew what was transpiring because we were breaking the news, so I can check on what day I talked about what thing just based on what photos are posted for that day. So I decided to go through all of my entire camera roll for this entire case and go back through all of the information that we had. It's nice to see you guys. Hey. And I said hi to you, Crime Stories. At least I hope I did. If I didn't, we got Batgirl up in the house. Jazz, it's nice to see you. Aussie, good evening. Tara, Betty would love chat. Don't have email. Do you have Facebook Messenger? I do, but sometimes people get lost. But if you wait, how would I do this? When I don't even know if I'll remember, because by the time we're done with this live, I'll probably be so exhausted I'll be ready to crash out. But maybe tomorrow in our live, if you can remember, remind me, and I'll add you as a friend on, or go and sub up to Bullhorn Betty, over on Facebook. Go do me a friend request. Let me take a picture of this. There, I just took a picture of your name. So go over to Facebook and friend request me, and then you'll be able to chat with me. You can send me the message in Messenger, but don't forget, because it goes into the spam weird place that I don't ever check. And so the only time I ever get your messages is if you are friends with me, which I really don't accept any friends anymore. My Bullhorn Betty, I mean, you go through a process to be a member over on the Bullhorn Betty True Crime. I may start, going through and when I have time, which I just never have time. That's the problem, is I just don't want anybody being friends with me on Facebook. So I will add you if you go over there and friend me. But only at Bullhorn Betty. If you want to sub up on the True Crime fan, or Facebook page that we set up, go over there and sign up for that as well. One of the mods can throw both my Bullhorn Betty Facebook page as well as my True Crime page in, I think. Hey Gigi, it's nice to see you. Kendra, Pete, Meow. Oh my gosh, Pete. They were out of lifesavers today. And they did have lifesavers, but it was the hard candy. So I've never seen the Skittle ones, the Skittle gummies. Maybe I have had these before. Actually, I think I have. But they were there. So I got those. And the nerds. I'm sugaring out. Oh, good Lord. Marcy, it's nice to see you. Pink Butterfly, Holly, Jen, Shannon, Sheila, Anita, Southern, it's nice to see you. What y'all doing with your shade? I don't know who you are, but yeah, I don't like that comment. Have a good day. One of my theories is he didn't pass away that night. He could have been placed somewhere that night when he was gone 17 hours. Could have done it then. Yeah, but that'd be too hard to control somebody. Just my opinion. I mean, playing it. I don't know. That'd be hard. I mean, somebody'd have to be with him. He'd be freaking out. That's the problem, is we just did, like, earlier today, like, we were talking about the meltdowns that are so attributed to autism, and it sounds like it's pretty noticeable and pretty loud. I mean, I don't know, but anything's possible at this time. I just really wish, I really wish to God that, oh, I wonder if that, the one that just wrote that in there, that was the other wannabe investigative journalist. Did have the ending, didn't it? What was her name? Jamie? Something like that. Anyways, so as I'm going through here, one of the things I took note of is where was everybody at? Where was everybody at? And I keep going back to Chris being at his job at 5:15. And if he's at his job at 5:15 and he doesn't start, and somebody was talking to me in email and saying that, and this makes sense, this is at I just realized this is up too high. Ooh, it's loose. This is at St. Jude's Hospital, and something that we didn't take into consideration is someone saying that at these hospitals, especially children's hospitals, there's designated quiet times. Betty, what do you think a meltdown looks like? Honestly, we read it earlier, and I'll read what came up on Google, but it doesn't sound pretty. All right, that I can tell you. It really doesn't sound very pleasing at all. what did I call it? I didn't call it meltdowns. I called it episodes. Episodes in autistic. Okay, so this is what it said. I don't know if this is the exact, this might be the exact one. I can't recall if this is the exact one I read earlier or not, just for your clarification. An autistic episode or meltdown is a physical response to an overwhelming situation that can cause someone to temporarily lose control of their behaviors. Meltdowns can be triggered by a fight or freeze response. Is this for the autism? Oh, here, hold on. Episodes in autism. Yeah, I guess that is. So they say meltdowns can be triggered by a fight, flight, or frozen response and are often mistaken for temper tantrums, that they are different. Some warning signs of autistic episodes include subtle signs like biting their nails and asking to leave. More obvious signs like covering their ears with their hands. Stimming behavior such as rocking, pacing, humming, finger biting, anxiety, irritability. During an autistic episode, someone may express the loss of control verbally, physically, or both. Express their loss of control, so they can like really be. They say verbal expressions can include crying, screaming, shouting. Physical can include kicking, lashing out, biting, foot stomping, hitting, running off. In some cases, meltdown can reach crisis level and include self-harm and things of that nature. So it doesn't sound pretty. It sounds like it can get pretty violent. You know, and they even say in some of these that they have lashed out physically to, you know, their parents. And we've watched that. I remember when I was first learning about this case, I didn't know really a whole lot. And I remember it appeared violent, really pretty violent to me. I mean, it terrified me watching it. And the lady, you know, she was just so calm and so soothing. And he calmed down and he let go of the side of her head. And I don't know. It was hard to watch for somebody that doesn't deal with an autistic kid. It was really hard to watch, but for her, it's, you know, it's common and it's sad, you know. Betty, I'll send you an email with a picture of O'Keefe's limb repair balm. It's a miracle. I live in Arizona, the sun, heat, horrid with our lips and skin. Yeah. Well, so far, this is the only thing, like, I literally had instantaneous, and I mean, like, almost instantaneous relief, seriously. When, this morning when I woke up, I mean, like, hardly, and I couldn't believe it. I called Olivia right away, and I'm like, holy crap, I can tell that it's working. Like, I can literally tell overnight that it's working. He could have been placed somewhere, alive or not, or yeah. There's definitely something with that 17-hour camping trip. But let's go over the notes that I do have. But I did want to bring that up because that dovetailed right into it. Because why would Chris be in his crane so early? You know, was he there because he was scared if he didn't get to work and he fell asleep, he wouldn't wake up because he was so exhausted from running the whole night before? You know, that he wanted to get there to make sure that at least he was on the job, and if he did fall asleep, somebody could wake him up. You know, what was the reason for him being there? Did he clock in at 5:15 just to sit in his crane? Or did he just go there and didn't bother clocking into 7, but people know that he was there because of some other reason at 5:15? It just seems, it's a little weird. It's a little weird, but I digress. Let's get on with it. So one of the very first things, we're going to kind of go back to the beginning. For those that are just tuning in, we're covering the case of Sebastian Rogers. He's a 15-year-old autistic boy that was inside of his home and allegedly sleeping in his bed and at 9 p.m. and by 6 a.m. he was vaporized, and nobody has seen him, a hide nor hair of him, since he went to bed. And there was a couple of things. That I forgot about. Like CP for refusing to answer when he last saw Sebastian. Do you guys remember that? Every time anybody asked him, because all of us had questions on whether he was there that weekend, he kept saying that he wasn't there that weekend and that he doesn't come home every weekend and that he hadn't seen Sebastian since since before January. But before he started saying that, everybody was asking them, when did you see him last? And his response was, this could cause problems. Basically, this could cause problems in the investigation for stating when he saw Sebastian last. How could that cause problems in the investigation? Like, he didn't want to give any firm answers publicly because he didn't know which way his story had to go. The public learned there was a video of Sebastian coming home. That's right. There's allegedly a video that has Katie and Sebastian arriving at home. And this was way up front. I think I took this screenshot. I think it was March 13th or March 16th. So way at the beginning, because everybody keeps forgetting that there was video. There was confirmation at some point, and I'm trying to source it. I took a screenshot. That's all I can do is take screenshots. I've got a screenshot in my phone. That means that there was a sighting of Sebastian coming home. And then there was another camera footage of him taking the garbage out. So I wanted to remind people, because some people are still in the mindset that he never returned home, and why do people think he even returned home from the Texas Roadhouse, is because there is, even though the public hasn't seen the footage, there is footage of him returning home, and there is footage of him coming out of the house to take the garbage out. Now, another thing is, as I'm going through my the stuff, apparently I took a lot of pictures and must have really done some due diligence really on March 16th, because I got to tell you, those were some of the first photos that I started taking of everything. And I forgot a lot of the stuff that we talked about and what conversations were going on in all of the chat rooms on Facebook and what people were saying on Twitter and everything like that. I captured all of that. I forgot I captured all of that. So when I went back and started this all over again, I realized that, people started talking about the lights, and neighbors were talking about what lights they saw going on and off at the time, not knowing if it was going to be beneficial. Remember that many of us believe that Sebastian was still a runaway at the time. There was not really any, outside of a few of us pointing our finger or side-eyeing the Proudfoots, there was nothing really damaging other than some really, underlying suspicion that what they're saying isn't right. But then we're starting to learn even more, because, the PIs have come out, since then, and has talked about the lights around the house. And if you guys remember, there you are, Alana, right there. Same neighbor video has his lights off in his room at 9:08. Thank you. And you know what else? What else I found is that there was, and this is something I think it was. I don't think it was Chloe, because I think it was Heather Cohen that had said something about the lights coming on, but it could have been Chloe. I can't remember. They both have dark hair. It might have been, I don't, it's hard because I want to say, I really do believe it was Heather. I believe it was Heather that had said something about the lights coming back on at 11. Do you guys remember that? And I think that was on the web sleuths. I have to go back to, because I think that's, I deleted the screenshot, but I think that was right, that post was right near the web sleuth screenshot, which would have meant that it's possible that those two went together. So none of that in the area at all. What does it say? I love you. Oh, thank you. I saw that. That's going to take a little time, Frankie, because the reason why that's going to take just a little bit of time is because there's like, I counted them. There's like 1, 2, I think there was like 5 or 6 videos. And I don't want to go to the end one without starting at the beginning. And I saw each of them were like, one of them was like 40 minutes or a little under 40 minutes. And so it's just going to take me a little bit of time. But yeah, I am going to look at them in my downtime. But at least you know I went over there and looked at them, because I wouldn't have that information without it. So yeah, I will take a look see. I just haven't had the time yet. Well, I actually probably had some time earlier today, but I decided to be lazy. So 11:30. So Tara Ann says 11. So it was around 11:30 then. Did I say 11? I think I said 11. So 11:30. That's what I was thinking. And lights off, and then something about 11:30. So it just seems a little weird, you know. It just seems a little weird, because here's what. Katie, and we've been sitting on this for some time. Oh, let me finish reading this. What does it say? Lights off at 9 p.m. But they... Okay, and then I remember questioning whether they went on or not, and you're saying 11:30. And Kate, and my notes are, whatever time it is, KP was supposed to be asleep on the couch. That's the problem right there. Remember, we've been trying to figure out why do we need to believe that she is asleep on the couch? We don't believe he walked out of the door for every single reason that Katie, the reason why I don't believe Sebastian walked out the door is for every single reason that Katie, Chris, and Seth have listed. Those are the reasons I don't believe he walked out the door, because those are the reasons that they don't believe that he would have walked out the door. And that's the reason why law enforcement can't see that he walked out the door, or can't even entertain the fact that he walked out the door, because there's no evidence he walked out the door. And so I feel like that was, you know, poor. It was wrong, because this child, because of all of the disabilities, has certain needs, and those needs were not being met when he walked out that door, almost implying he would have had a meltdown if he walked out that door, which again is not a pleasant thing to see or witness. So I don't personally believe he walked out the door. Now we have to go back to Katie, you know, and Katie was supposed to be on the couch, and we were listening to the Dutch's interview right there at that on 3/20/22, and they're saying, and she is giving convincing language. Chris told me to go to bed. I got up, I put the dogs away, I went to bed. I went to bed at midnight. I was in bed at midnight, and of course I obviously I was sleeping, is basically what she said. That was convincing language, that she needed us to believe that she was half asleep on the couch, so much so Chris woke her up over the phone, and she went to bed and went to sleep at midnight. Why does she need to convince us of that? And I knew why she needed to convince us that she went to sleep at midnight, because she didn't, and she was most likely doing, you know, taking care of something. But I never could quite understand or entertain why she needed us to believe that she was falling asleep on the couch. Because if she's not asleep on the couch, that would imply, I think, that she would have been in Sebastian's room, or should have known that Sebastian was up and down all night if there was some activity, including 11:30. What if, you know, obviously that must have been picked up on somebody's camera, and law enforcement must have asked Katie, was that you in his room? And she's like, oh, it couldn't have been me. I was asleep on the couch until he woke me up at midnight when I went to bed and fell asleep at midnight. But that was the one part that I couldn't piece. Like, why did she need us to believe she was half asleep? Because I'm like, this doesn't make sense. She calls her husband at 9:43 and she's fallen asleep at 10. And she needs us to believe she was still on that couch asleep until almost midnight, at midnight. And then at midnight, in that 60 seconds, she managed to get up, put the dogs away, go to bed, and slap asleep by midnight. Interesting. I don't know. So I think that might be something. And then as I'm going through it, information about the flashlight starts coming up, and I start seeing how people are talking about Katie said he disappeared with a flashlight. And so naturally I'm thinking, and of course I know this now, but even back then I thought of a full flashlight, a normal flashlight. And then I remember somebody way back when correcting me and saying that it was a small flashlight, something like a keychain. So I don't know if it's a keychain or not. I've reached out to somebody to confirm whether, what it was, and the person was only able to say, I think it might be a keychain flashlight. So I have not yet been able to confirm what type of flashlight it truly is. Is it a keychain flashlight? Maybe Katie said it on an interview. I haven't gotten to it yet. Maybe that's where I remember hearing it was a keychain. But that's interesting. I remember having a little light on a keychain and holding it up and saying, I think it might be something like this. And that was one of my lives I did. My mods would probably be, I think it was like at least 60 days ago. At least 60. It would have been when we were talking about the flashlight. So whatever day that my screenshot for the flashlight, that would have been most likely the day that we had the discussion related to the flashlight. And then I forgot about all the chaos and everything for the search with the United Cajun Navy, and that had came from Riley Strain and brought a whole bunch of people over there searching. And that day, started out great and ended in everybody down each other's neck. And that is really the beginning of this whole saga of just a domino effect of hurt feelings that has led people to be attacking Seth. And it started all back here, back in the, the March area, when the search was organized by the United Cajun Navy. And then, of course, after that, shortly after that, is when Robin Rogers started just really, it seemed like she was just filled with a lot of grief and a lot of sadness, and she was just up and down every single day. One minute she hated the Proudfoots, next minute she was trying to, I think she was almost convincing her, like, it couldn't have been them, I need to quit being so mean, I'm just missing my grandson. It was just like an up and down. It's like, I didn't take really a whole lot she was saying with a grain of salt, because even though she was grandma, she didn't really get to see her grandson very much. I didn't really think she had a whole host of information that could be relevant. Obviously, there was some type of, emotional response that she had when she started thinking about her grandson having being abused. And I think she was coming to grips with maybe some of the things that she had made, some signs and some statements that her grandson made that she might have overlooked. And, we don't really know what those were. Those were never really surfaced as to what was really said. But obviously, the thought of her grandson being abused did not have obviously did not have a positive effect on a grandmother that's also facing the fact that she may never see her grandson again, that she loves very dearly. I can't imagine what that must feel like or be like. So this is about the time that people started noticing that Chris Proudfoot, even though he had done the interview early on, he had done the green shirt interview like maybe a week or two before, it seemed like everybody just started analyzing the green shirt interview with a fine-tooth comb. And that's when I started first seeing the first photos start going around and being circulated showing scratch marks and potential indentations on Chris's arm that many people started really honing in on and believing they may have been bite marks. I have to say, it's hard for me to determine, but people have lined up and showed me how it could be teeth marks. So I'm with you guys. The only thing that makes me feel like it's not teeth marks is because of the placement of it. See, I feel like if it was going to be a bite mark, it would be this way. But it's not. It's this way. It's a much different type of it's this way, not this. It's hard. So it's in an awkward position, and we don't know if that teeth impression on him lines up with it perfectly. We can assume it does, or some people may assume it doesn't. Whatever it may be, but we truly don't know if those are bite marks based on one singular photo. We can literally just say, is it possible? The answer is, of course it's possible. Would it be probable in this situation? It could be. I don't want to discredit that because, there was a lot of people that showed me bite marks and really walked me through it. And it's hard not to think it could be bite marks. But I don't know. I personally don't know. There is no way he was having trouble hearing KP and the dispatcher during the police call when they hadn't even started work at the job site yet. There wouldn't have been anything on the radios. Exactly. That's what's bringing me back to that whole situation. I forgot about the whole situation. I mean, we've been talking about the 515, but see, this is the thing. We talk about one aspect, like I've been talking about the 515 and him talking, going to work at 7 p.m. But we really need to kind of almost dissect that behavior. Like, why is Chris showing up to work at 5:15 if he's not starting his crane operation job until 7 p.m.? It's time to dissect that. What time does he normally show up for work? That's the first question I want answered. What time does he normally show up for work? If he normally shows up for work at 5:15, I'm not worried about it. You see what I'm saying? That's not odd behavior to me. He does that every day. No harms, no foul. He just wants to make sure he doesn't miss work. I get it, right? Anybody knows anything about me? I'm usually 15, 20 minutes early, arrive early on everything. It's just the way I am. It's the old school in me. So, you know what? If that's what he does every day, that's what he does every day. But, for example, if we find out he doesn't arrive there every day, actually it's very uncommon for him to arrive there that day because of this quiet time, that they have the children sleeping in the hospital and they don't want any loud construction work going on during certain times. And he just happened to go to work early that day, of all days. It seems very sus. And when you talk about these cranes, and maybe I should let's look at some of these tower cranes. Let's see what kind of capabilities tower cranes have. Tower crane. Capabilities. Interesting. Let's just read. I don't know nothing about it. I don't know nothing about it. Let's find out a little about it. Let's find out a little something. Tower cranes are designed to lift heavy materials such as concrete, steel beams, and prefabricated components to various levels of construction of a construction site. They can have a lifting capacity ranging from 2 tons to over 100 tons. But the maximum weight that can be lifted depends on the load position. For example, a typical tower crane can lift a maximum of 18 metric tons, which is 39,690 pounds. but it can only lift 10.1 tons if the load is 100 feet from the mast. The closer the load is to the mast, the more weight the crane can safely lift to prevent overloading in operation. Tower cranes are also versatile, but what are the capabilities? What are the cranes' functions? Functions? What would be a good, what would be a good search on here? See, tower crane stationary machines are stationary machines used on construction sites to lift and move heavy materials. Okay. So what types of oh, I know what it is. What types of cranes? Tower crane. Tower crane. Sails. I don't know, to look this up. Tower cranes for sale. Let's see what. These tower cranes are huge. Not cheap either. One's like $110,000. Lord lordy. But what are they? I want to know how they function. I'll have to call and figure it out. But I was hoping it'd be easier than that. It's not being easier than that. So I need to find out what does the inside of these tower cranes look like? You know, what does the control area look like? Because I think I heard somebody, might even have been Tony on a live, saying that, you know, some of these cranes, they record everything, like all the little movements and stuff like that. I don't know if it what does it know when you get in, you know, what time you power it up? Does it stay powered? Like I don't know nothing about it. So that would be interesting. But that was a difficult thing. So I don't know, and I don't know how he could have been in that crane on the phone with Katie while somebody's talking in his ear if he's not even started his job yet. It just seems a little odd. It seems like he started his job 30 minutes after the call. It sounds like everything was to be made to keep it as hush-hush as possible. He'd be at work, they'd call law enforcement, they would get the ball rolling, he would just roll through work very low key. She would handle it down the home front, but maybe things weren't going as good as the expected. So when he was talking to Katie, he might have started getting more and more irritated and agitated because of the situation. Maybe Katie was feeling very pressured by law enforcement. Maybe she started getting scared by the level. I mean, I gotta think it had to have been pretty scary with the cavalry being there. They had planes, helicopters, drones. It was probably pretty overwhelming, especially if you have a guilty conscience. And that's probably what was getting Chris so irritated. And he was all the way out there, and he ended up getting kicked off his job and just going home. And he never said he arrived around 1. I mean, he said he arrived around 1. That's exactly what he said. But he didn't say, out of all the times that he was specific, and this is what one of the subs had wrote to me, out of everything he talks about, he's so specific on specifying the exact time with everything. And this one, whenever it came to him arriving at that home, it was around 1. And not as specific as, say, 9:43 to 9 or 9:46. It's a ranch house with a bonus room above the garage. Stairs are assessed by the kitchen. Yeah, yep, tax lady, that's right. Keika. Chris family member own a lot from real estate agency to construction company called Second Generation Company, so he knows a lot of spots to hide. Yeah, I agree. When I was when I was working with my father, I mean, of course, I never thought of it that way. I was so young, you know. All I did was think of electrical and handing him the right tools, you know. But yeah, I mean, looking back on it, if I haven't been on a construction site in quite some time, But, you know, yeah, there were some places that were pretty desolate that were just getting started. It would have taken months to years before anybody would have noticed. And that's the truth. So Grandma started going there. People started noticing the scratches up and down Chris's arms. They started paying attention to it. And so the Cajun Navy was in town, and naturally everybody was like kind of up in arms at this stuff, questioning about his scratches, and then him not coming to the biggest search that was organized since the beginning. I mean, that was outside of law enforcement. I mean, there was a lot of people out there trying to help search for this boy. And Katie and Chris were the only ones, well, Katie, Chris, and their family were the only ones that were absent from this massive search. And many people were calling him saying, hey, why aren't you out here searching? And they said law enforcement told him to stay home. And then later that night, they were enjoying a meal at one of the local barbecue joints. So when people started questioning about why you're at a barbecue joint and not at home or out searching, they ended up the very next day packing up their camper and hitting the road, and were on the road, from my understanding, by 2 p.m. and went back to the Yogi Bear campground where Chris had to go pick that camper up from, for whatever reason, right after Sebastian disappeared. So all of these things we're remembering. And then around April, we learned about the SA allegations of Sebastian when he was 8 years old. How long, you know, we're learning, because now that this whole divorce and everything is really now taking, you know, people have been talking about it. And of course we know that on February 18th, or excuse me, February 26, 2016 rather, it appears that Katie filed for divorce from Seth Rogers. So how long was Sebastian? We know Seth Rogers, before this divorce, took care of his son. And it appears that he took care of his son pretty well. It seems like he was the one that had the maternal and nurturing bond with his son, not his wife. How long was Sebastian in her care full time for the first time before these SA allegations came out? I never looked at it from that lens before, but after learning about Seth and Katie's relationship, as much as we are, you know, without all the mudslinging stuff, you know, the only person I could really ask is Seth, and the only thing I could do is go back to conversations that Chris and Katie had with other creators where they answered questions related to Seth. So that's really everything that I have that went into my analysis about their marriage. And obviously their marriage was rocky, but I don't believe that all that mudslinging, all that stuff that we've been hearing about in their divorce paperwork really held water, because the judge gave Seth joint custody of his son. So there's no way, if they've had any finding of fact with the statements that were in that thing, they would have given Katie sole custody of the child, without a doubt, if they were substantiated. If those allegations were substantiated, the courts would have given Sebastian to Katie primary, not joint. So I think just in the judge's ruling alone, it kind of explained that the paperwork that's been used to smear Seth with obviously wasn't founded, and probably why they never put the court's orders out there, only the smear campaign. Just saying. But that's when we found that out. So how long, and we know that Seth was the primary caregiver of Sebastian because Katie went off to the Navy. So how long, and we know that he was about 8 years old, 7 to 8 years old when they were splitting up. So how long was Sebastian in her care for the first time, full time, before her son was injured severely? Just a question. CP and KP are seen at the Yogi Bear campground, and all signs were removed from their vehicle. And then CP is questioned about taking the polygraph test. And if you remember earlier, when we started out this journey, I said one of the first things literally the first thing on my list before we started is Chris making statements that him, Katie, and Seth had all been cleared and passed a polygraph test. Now we went through all of this, and now we're going to this. Oops, wrong way. You didn't see that. Now we're going to this. So now CP is now questioned on whether he passed a polygraph test, and that's when we realized he had been lying to us and he had not taken the polygraph, and now he's trying to convince us that TBI wants him to take the polygraph with them. I have still not heard law enforcement come out. The only person that has been publicly stated as taking and properly passing their polygraph test is Seth Rogers. He took it with the Nancy Grace Show and with an FBI trained polygraph examiner and administrator. And his professional opinion is Seth Rogers passed his polygraph test. And he came on the Nancy Grace Show and told Nancy Grace and the world that Seth Rogers did in fact pass his polygraph. So the only person right now that I can corroborate out of Katie, Chris, and Seth as passing a polygraph test is Seth, and Seth alone. I have no other information about Katie and Chris. I have no way to corroborate it, because what comes out of their mouth, just like if Seth said he passed it and we couldn't take it as him passing. We could assume he passed, but we can't confirm that he passed. With Seth and him going through Nancy Grace, we can absolutely confirm he passed his polygraph test. So I'm very thankful that at least out of everything, we got one parent that can properly pass a polygraph test. It's unfortunate that's the only parent that was not in this boy's immediate area at the time, and I wish he would have. Now, people started talking around this time about Kathy Bowersox being at Warsham's. And then, of course, the litany of nonprofit scams, the United Cajun Navy, Uvalde, and then the camera started going up on the camper. So that is really where I'm at in starting this case back over. I think, and the reason why I wrote those key points out, it's not like it's going in, it's just that those are the key points that I have forgotten about. Right? We forgot a lot. We forgot a lot of details, a lot of the minor details that we once looked for. Because I remember there was a reason why I kept thinking that Sebastian came home, and I do believe Sebastian did come home, and I forgot that, and I keep, just like that one day that I was here and I'm like, wait a minute, there was a camera with him taking the garbage out. It was like I was talking about it as if I thought he may not have made it home, and then I started remembering, wait a minute, I heard he did, and I heard this, and I heard that, and I went back and checked it, and sure enough, and that's one of the reasons. So it does sound like there is camera that shows them arriving at the home. There is camera footage showing him taking the garbage to the road, and there is his shoes inside the house. So I'm pretty confident that he went home that night. I know there's still going to be a few people that have their opinions about it and are just going to stick to it without, some more information, and I get that. But just for me alone, I believe he's come back to the house. But I believed he's been, that he came back to the house. I really didn't. I never really was. One of my theories was never that he never made it back to the house. So, in all reality, I've never thought he never made it back to the house. So, I may have missed it, but did you say he got faith for the summer? Did you hear anything? I heard just recently that it's possible, or there's rumors going around that Chris Proudfoot has faith. I don't know what the court's ordered. I don't know whether faith is with Chris or not. Honestly, it's worrisome to me that he's around kids with this situation. However, I'm not a court, and what do you say? What do you do? If he's around his daughter, hopefully his daughter's in good care and is well taken care of. But I don't know. It's a little concerning. What do you say? What do you do? I don't know. I can't. I'm fearful for. Well, it's not right. I'm fearful for Nina, but not like I'm fearful for her. But I understand that how fearful she must be. Charlie's parents hide him in their home, where cops' dogs on and on search that house, and he was there the entire time. Gannon Stout, Letitia had him in a suitcase. White cops searched her whole entire house, and she was able to keep a calm, cool, and demeanor. It's crazy to me. It's crazy. YouTube's got an emoji for crystal clear. I like that, Misty. That's hilarious. I like that. I like that. Let's see what we got here. Oh, and thank you. People mentioned Chris had faith that summer. But, the last time he saw her was Christmas. So it's been, I guess he gets her maybe twice a year. I don't know. But we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I don't listen to people on, that's why I'm never online in these chat rooms and stuff like that, is because I don't like them. They make up stuff. It costs me more work. I just keep working on the real information, and I put my own stuff out there. But I haven't been paying attention to Chris or his, custody stuff with Faith, because in all fairness, it really doesn't have a whole lot to do with my case. The custody stuff is irrelevant to the case at hand. Do I think he should be around kids? Obviously, my personal belief on that. You don't take chances. Courts shouldn't take chances. There's already a child missing from this home, and I'm sorry, until you can explain that, I don't think, I think it should be supervised personally. So, anyways. All right, guys, I'm tired. It's almost midnight. I'm going to eat 3 more jellies. I got to brush my teeth. And I'll see you another time. I'll see you probably tomorrow after church, most likely, unless I'm going crazy first thing in the morning and got to get something off my chest. Then I'll be live before church. So if you guys want to come and hang out with me for church, it starts at 9:05 Eastern Standard Time. Wherever you are in the world, that's the time it'll be. Eastern Standard Time, United States of America, Eastern Standard Time. That is at 9:04 or 9:05. That's when I'll be at Countryside Christian Church. You can look up a community tab. Every Sunday, I'll always make sure I add the post there and on Twitter for anybody that would like to come hang out and worship with us. So have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow, and God bless.